What's going on, Pokemon Go trainers? Welcome to episode 97 of Lured Up, the podcast where we take Pokemon Go way more seriously than we do ourselves. Lured Up is part of the Pokemon Professor Network, and today is Sunday, September 22nd, 2019. I'm your host, Ken Pescatore, joined by only one co-host today, Adam Tuttle. Melissa is still driving home from the Safari Zone as we speak. She's still on the road coming back from Montreal, but Adam, you're here. How are you?
I'm here. In 97, we are inching so close to 100 episodes.
We are. It's getting super close, and we're not alone today. Today, we're joined by the self-proclaimed leader of Team Winstinct, ZyoniK. How are you, man? How are you? Thank you for coming on the show.
I'm doing good, Ken. How are you doing?
I'm very well, dude. It's 2:30 in the morning for you, so you're a trooper, and I appreciate your commitment to the craft.
Yeah, thanks for staying up this late.
Coffee keeps the world going around.
I'm like, dude, we get on the call, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm drinking a cup of coffee." I'm gonna go, "Oh, a cup of coffee at 2:30 a.m. is no joke, dude." I was like, "That sounds really good." All right, awesome. We're gonna get to know ZyoniK in just a moment. Little housekeeping to run through really quick. This podcast is powered by Patreon. Please check ours out over at patreon.com/Pokemon Professor, where you can support this show for as little as $1 a month. And that $1 will get you access to our patron exclusive Discord, which is a fantastic place filled with fantastic people.
You know it is.
It sure is. If Patreon isn't your thing, there's a few other ways you can help us out. If you're listening on YouTube, you could hit subscribe and the notification bell. And if you're listening on a podcast service like Apple Podcasts, you could take a moment to leave us a review. 5 stars are the best stars. All right, on today's show, we're going to get to know ZyoniK. We're going to talk Silph Arena Season 2 and all the updates in the PvP realm. I'm very excited.
Me too, because I need to know some of the stuff.
We got a little bit of a shakeup in the raid world. Altered Form Giratina returns to Tier 5 raids. Shadow Ball Mewtwo's coming to EX raids. We also have a make-up date for our Scythe Strike Mewtwo raid hour. We've got a bunch of miscellaneous news and some listener emails to go through, but first, we're going to get to know ZyoniK. Why don't you introduce yourself, man? Let us know who you are, where you're from, and talk about what you do.
Yeah, so I'm ZyoniK. I'm a YouTube content creator for Pokemon Go PvP. Recently new to the scene this year. I just started creating videos at the start of the year, but I don't do any kind of the traditional vlogging that everyone does. I purely do PvP. Which, isn't, I guess, the most popular thing in the grand scheme of things, but I love it, which is why I make it. So, yeah, that's me.
I love it. That's awesome.
I have this insane feeling that the PvP bubble is going to explode, and we'll get into it in the show. Yeah. But you say like, oh, yeah, PvP is not the most popular. Look, when it comes to content, it's introducing a new form of content is always super tough. Mm-hmm. But I just have this feeling like something is ready to explode with exposure and kind of, the increase in usage at a PvP. Like I'm just so psyched because I know it's coming, and I get really excited when PvP is talked about because I love it. I stand behind it, and I feel you, man. When it comes to being passionate about a specific way to play this game, PvP definitely has it. So we'll definitely get into that in a bit. But obviously, your Team Instinct.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. Is it Melissa? Yeah. Is it Melissa Team Instinct as well?
No, Adam.
Adam is? Okay.
Yes.
No, I'm Instinct.
Yes.
Yeah. Winstinct. Winstinct is a mindset.
Oh, okay. Because I thought you were saying mystic, like
no,
maybe
no.
Okay, no.
Winstinct, winning, dude,
winning.
like Charlie Sheen.
Winning. You get
they have the winning instinct.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, Winstinct. You get the winning instinct.
No, I remember. Shout out to Terry Wolf again. Terry Wolf's in the hospital. I think he's getting out tomorrow. Terry. We hope you feel better. Jeez, man, crazy Terry Wolf. But he turned me on to your content, and I remember like the first, I go to your page for the first time, and it's like yellow everywhere, and I'm like, oh, this dude is proud of wearing those colors. I was like, this dude's legit. It was really funny. It was super cool. I know that made Adam really happy. But why don't you talk about the history with the Pokemon franchise? Like you said, you're new to YouTube. You just started this year, but how about your connection to Pokemon? Is Pokemon Go how you got into it, or have you been into the franchise for a while?
So I've been into the franchise since I knew about it as a kid. Like whenever I don't know when I stumbled upon it, but the second I did with, yellow, blue, and red, the first games.
Oh, so it was in the beginning.
TV series. Oh, beginning. Yeah, TV series.
Oh,
like
nice.
Saturday morning cartoons. Like I was there for Pokemon every time without fail.
Hell yeah. Nice.
Yeah. So I've been, I think I took a break when Gen 5 came out, which is why I have no clue what is what. But I think that's about the time Halo came and I was a teenager. So it makes sense why I did the conversion.
There's like the generations, late 3, definitely 4 into 5, and maybe even into some parts of 6. That's usually like the break years that that people take when it comes to like, oh man, I grew up with the franchise, I was into it, and then I took a break in the middle, generations 4, 5, 6 or whatever, and then they kind of came back during, Sun and Moon or whatever. But it's, that's always good to hear. And you're new to YouTube, you said. How did that become part of, what you do? Like, did you see the game and say, hey, I want to make content about this right away? Or was it only once PvP came out, you said, hey, now I have a real voice?
Yeah, once PvP came out and I got obsessed with it and loved it, I was like, okay, I could do something with this. But I think it was a video that Trainer Tips did. I believe it's on the 1st of February if you go check out his thing. But he's talking about the future of PvP, and he was like connecting the investments that recently happened with Niantic, where they partnered with people for esports. They partnered with people for multi VR simultaneous kind of like looking through your phone, and then partnered with the Golden State Warriors owner, and he kind of connected the dots. He's like, the future of PvP could be this, and that just like lit a fire in me. And then taking a look at content creators like King and Purple Kyogre and Poke AK, it was like, okay, I could do this. These guys are doing it. I don't have to have all this fancy gear that, Trainer Tips has and all of that. I could just kind of record with what I have. So I used like my iPhone to record the video, and then I used a microphone headset to record the audio, and just kind of synced in, just figured it out. I didn't need to like invest thousands of dollars to get all the best kit.
Hey, working with what you got.
That's right. But when it comes to this kind of content, I love the fancy shit. I love the nice time lapse, beautiful shot of the clouds rolling and these high end lenses and all that. Like, I love all that shit. But when I first started getting into PvP content and I was watching like Matty F Baby videos, and stuff like that, I was like, dude, there's something that's just so organic and raw about these PvP style videos that I love, of just someone kind of sitting in front of a camera gushing, just kind of like letting it all out about, battling and, how deep this can actually go. I was like, there's something special about these PvP videos because they have a completely different vibe and feel from everything else that's out there in the vlog space. I was like, it's awesome. And I love that about PvP videos. And, that's also one of the benefits of, if you're looking to make content, there could be barriers to entry when it comes to equipment, but it's like, hey, if you're just, have good content and you're passionate about the subject matter, point your phone at yourself and just get it out. And I thought that was, that's really cool, when it comes to PvP. And I'm very excited for, the future of PvP coverage as well, because we're seeing, big increases when it comes to all that.
Yeah. More people are being turned on to the PvP scene. And even if the content isn't like visually appealing, if the information's good, people will come.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's where it kind of, has its own. It's, you can have a nice vlog video that, could be 15 minutes long, and you might get 5 minutes of gameplay, 5 minutes of, filler, and 5 minutes of, FaceTime with the, the creator. But it seems like out of a 5 or 10 minute PvP video, it's like my head is filled with information. You know what I mean? Like, it's just jam packed because there's so much to cover and so many different things that are not just lifestyle experience based coverage.
Yeah.
It's actual mechanical coverage. And I think that's where, when I first saw your videos, I go, oh my God, this is so incredibly technical and deep. Like, it turned me on to being able to understand that there's so much more happening under the hood of PvP that is happening behind the scenes. And, the people that are aware of this stuff, like proper IV spread, move coverage, manipulating, under tapping, like things like that. It's a whole nother ballgame when it comes to how to deliver those messages. So I think that PvP is onto something big. And, I know that from a foundational level, organizations like the Silph Road and Go Stadium are paramount to, developing these communities and creating the hype and the consistency of players getting involved with PvP month after month after month. But what are your feelings on this soon-to-be released Niantic kind of PvP and ranking system? Put on your tinfoil hat a little bit. How do you think this is going to work? And what could this mean for third parties like the Silph Road? And how do you think the Versus Seeker is going to work? There's so much to talk about because it's all speculation at this point. But anything that you'd like to see out of like a first-party competitive network?
Yeah, I think, like you said, great things are coming, and what I hope is, because obviously we have no clue what it could be, and then the second it comes, we'll know. So I just hope it's done well, and it captures the attention of the competitive scene. So everyone that's doing Silph Arena right now, I hope it's not kind of how it's been with like Team Rocket, which Team Rocket is a lot of fun and I like in the Shadow Pokemon, but that's not like a PvP fight. And I think people relate PvP to Team Rocket fight where it's just like, oh, it's, Smackdown Tyranitar, I win.
Right. Yep.
So I hope they provide depth to it, which I think is important. And I hope it's not a money gate, if that makes sense, where you have to spend money in order to kind of compete, which I think is where the Versus Seeker comes in. Where that's
right. I know everyone's trying to figure out how the hell this thing's going to work. Like, what is this going to be?
So, looking at the coding when it first came out, what it sounds like to me is it's going to be an item we have. Maybe it'll be a part of the buddy system screen or something like that, or it'll be an item that I think the more you walk, the fuller the bar charges, and then you can use it to do matchmaking.
So we've talked about this previously of how this thing could possibly charge, because we've seen that, that language, and we kind of understand you have to charge this thing. And I think it was Melissa that was saying like buddy distance is probably going to be a way to use that, and it could be tied into the route maker or something like that. But if I hope it's something like buddy distance and not like an item you can buy like raid passes and feed your Versus Seeker with PvP passes. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be interesting to see how that works because, I put it up on Twitter last week too. I was like, this could turn into a subscription based thing. Like, imagine that. Like, pay $5. Your Versus Seeker's always charged all the time. You know what I mean? Like, who knows how they could do that? But I am very excited because I think that's always Niantic's challenge, right? To be able to communicate to the core players. We want them to draw the hyper competitive people that are engaged in PvP on the level of, that they're watching video content on it, understanding metas, creating teams, running simulations, like that crowd. We want them to come over. But they're also always challenged with, well, how do we get this to the masses? And that could be something with Ultra and Master League even. I have no idea how this is going to work, but I think the explosion of PvP is going to kind of be dependent on how this rolls out and if this rolls out successfully, because I've said it from the beginning, matchmaking is the catalyst to growth in the PvP space, because as soon as they get matchmaking in there, it's going to be a freaking game changer. So I don't know. We'll have to see how that Versus Seeker works, though, because some people might just get so turned off about it that they're like, "Nope, I'm out. I'm not doing it. I'm not paying." We'll have to see.
And the thing is, I think going back to saying that Niantic needs to like roll this out successfully without like having a drawback is, I think they understand, because when do you remember when the Switch button got changed up earlier this year?
Yes.
Yeah,
the location.
Not the location, but how it worked. So when you hit it,
yes,
yeah. You went through all your Pokemon. Everyone's like, this just killed competitive PvP. Well, they reverted it, and I don't remember them reverting anything before.
Yeah, so it was exceptionally reactionary. They nailed that.
Yeah, so I think it goes to show that they really want to make this successful, because I think PvP is the end game. I mean, that's kind of what the story the main series story is kind of based off of, is fun competitive battles with your community, and to be, you know, the best that ever was, the whole thing. So
hell yeah.
yeah.
No, I agree. I agree 100% there, because they're going to have to be exceptionally responsive, and you know, the way that they did with that switch mechanic thing, it proved that, you know, within 24 hours of them making like a significant launch of something where they have a blog post and everything that talks about the change, and then all of a sudden they actually revert it, and they respond with explanation. You know, hey, we wanted to do this. This was a result of it. We didn't like that. We're removing it. We're still working on it. Like, it was like, holy shit. They actually like made the change, told us why, told us what they're doing, and let us know they're still working on it. I was like, yes, this is the level of communication and, you know, responsiveness to the community that will make this game succeed, and will make this game, you know, have legs for years and years, so long as they just stay responsive to the community. So yeah, hell yeah, they freaking nailed it.
Absolutely.
And yeah, they nailed it on that. Now, we're talking about esports, you know, and what they need to do to kind of, you know, how PvP can explode here. And, you know, something you definitely have experience with is shoutcasting. And I think with a lot of the coverage of PvP of late, shoutcasting is becoming more and more of an integral part of that production. And I'm a huge fan of that, because I think that the majority of the excitement comes from the shoutcasting and the commentators, you know, more so than the actual, you know, what's going on in the screen.
Well, the shoutcasters give depth to what's going on.
But how important do you think it is to the viability of Pokemon Go as a esport? Like, I mean, it's, you know, how did your experience go at the Silph North American Championships? And was that like kind of a foreshadowing into what we can expect from, you know, live PvP coverage in the future?
Yeah, so I think when it comes to shoutcasting, I don't think it's going to be the necessity for it to become an esport. I think it's just it'll be a good byproduct when it becomes an esport, if that makes sense.
Sure.
I think the amount of people that are actually interested is what's going to make it into an esport. So right now we got a hardcore community of, you know, 30, 40, 50,000 people for PvP. But the second that turns into 500,000 people, then, you know, it'll gain more attention. It's like a snowball going downhill. So I think we have the right stuff in place. We have content creators. We have the Silph Arena. We have Discord groups and communities. We have, you know, all local communities can host these tournaments and create it into a tournament. And I think shoutcasters are just going to be, because this is happening, shoutcasters are going to come out of it as a byproduct. And the necessity for them to kind of know the depth of it while being entertaining as well is just, I think, part of the trade for any sport that you've ever watched, is the person doing the play-by-play commentary will be engaging and know what's going on. And when it came to Chicago, I think Chicago was a speed bump for us. As you know, there was a lot of technical difficulties that we ran into, but I think Dortmund would be a better example of how it could be. Dortmund was a lot of fun, where, you know, we had a great venue. We live streamed it. The crowd there could watch the battles live on a massive projector.
Right.
Yeah, I saw pictures of that. It looked fantastic.
Oh yeah, it was just a big conference hall at a hotel, and there was 200 seats, you know, set out.
I remember in Chicago, everything spilling out into the street. I was like,
Yeah.
Oh my God, this is insane. I remember seeing you come down, like holding the trophy, coming down the escalator. I was like, oh my God, this is insane.
Yeah.
This is absolutely insane.
Yeah, so I think the future is really bright for Pokemon Go PvP as an esport. I think it definitely needs there needs to be more work put into it. I think not only on the game, but on the production level from everyone. And I think a good example of like the future, like we saw a glimpse of it, was DC. For Pokemon Go. Yeah, that was fantastic. And the shoutcasters are Nick. He did a great job. And, you know, I was glued to the TV for 6 hours. I was just watching this thing nonstop. I was hugely impressed by the gameplay, by the production that was put into it, and I was just like, yes, this is what PvP can look like. And I think it goes to show that there was like 14,000 people watching live on just Twitch.
Hell yeah.
And then when it switched to the card game, which I'm not a personal fan of the card game, so I kind of tuned out, but it went down to like 3,000 or 4,000. So 10,000 people just dipped out after the PvP tournament was over.
Yeah, so, I think that it definitely made a massive impact. Adam was in the room. Adam was there.
Yeah, no, my son was sitting there glued to the TV, and I'm like, I don't want to leave. I want to watch this. Like, this is what we're not even here for this. Like, we were here for me to play the card game in the DC Open, and we ended up just watching that at the start, and it was fantastic. And then every time he sees me playing, he's like, can I battle? Can we battle?
That's awesome.
And like, he doesn't really know what's going on. He likes to pick, whatever one he likes, but
so it's pretty much like when I play.
yeah. But it's a lot of fun, and like seeing him engaged in that way, I mean, he's in the youngest form and he just wants to battle. Like, he doesn't care about anything else. He wants to battle.
That's good.
Let me backpedal a little bit. You said that the game, there needs to be some stuff developed with production, but also with the game. Now, I'm a huge believer that the PvP system hasn't kind of reached its final form yet. I think that they're going to continue to iterate on it, and I think that status effects will be the real kind of the next big thing that comes to PvP. Like, once they put that in the game and they really have a good representation of what the core games can do in a battle scenario, bringing that over to Go, I think once status effects come, that's going to kind of be the final form. I'm sure that they'll continue to iterate, but that will be the real be all end all way of this being like, okay, this is a much more balanced scenario now. You have all this stuff going on. It feels more like Pokemon, because I love the fact that it's, exciting, and people that aren't necessarily in the know with understanding, like, shield maintenance and switching and all that stuff. It's exciting to watch, but it doesn't necessarily feel like Pokemon. You know what I mean? You're just kind of watching this happen. I think when status effects start to really come into play, burn, sleep, that kind of thing, it's going to feel much more like Pokemon. So from a spectator, position, it's going to just give them that feeling of, okay, this seems more consistent with the card game and the VGC and all that stuff, because it has that more dynamic.
They're going to have to swap out and make switches, in an instant.
Oh yeah.
To compensate for sleep, to compensate for burn, poison, anything like that.
And that can be another place for Niantic to kind of really shine and make waves with, how they're implementing these things in their game. Because all this stuff is coveted by the Pokemon Company, how all these mechanics work. So it's going to be interesting to see, like what they did with eggs in Pokemon Go and Buddy Candy and Evolution and all that. Like, that's all for Pokemon Go. So like, how the hell are they going to roll this out? But I think when that comes, that's going to be freaking awesome. All right, let me switch gears real quick. I want to dig into the Silph Season 2, because there was a big update that came out. They put out like this splash page of everything that's going on for Silph Season 2. And there's a lot of updates that are kind of will change the landscape of Silph tournaments going forward. Now, in previous episodes of Lured Up, we've talked about how they're adding like the practice mode and the different, Ultra League, Master League, all that stuff is going to be in there now, which is great. So I want to specifically talk about a couple of these new things that they put out last week. And ZyoniK, I want to get your feelings on them, because you're the expert here. So
yeah.
2 new player tiers above Ace. Now, when I first saw this, I go, okay, it's cool that they're segregating this even further for the elite players. I would think that maybe one more tier above Ace, but 2 tiers above Ace. How do you think this? How do you feel about this? Do you think that this is going to affect a really small segment of players? Right?
I think it's just increasing growth, because we're going to have more tournaments. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's definitely going to be more ranked tournaments that we have. And we saw, while they're doing the recalculation, I happened to land on the leaderboard page, and I saw that Mastercore went to Elite, which is the next tier above Ace. For for a couple hours, he was at Elite, which is white. And that was just with this last season. With the new season, There'll be so many more ranked tournaments. So the point system. So right now, everyone who's basically who didn't make ace next year, or this new season, I think ace will be the new norm.
Okay,
if that makes sense.
That does. Yep. Okay,
yeah,
that makes more sense to me now, because then it's not like you're just adding, you're kind of retconning where the ace threshold, is down a little bit to compensate for the larger player base. All right, cool. That makes sense. Let's move on. This is a big one here. Best of 3 must play 3. So rather than being 2 and done, you have to play all 3. And I know that this is contentious right now, because they kind of came back and said, hey, we're maybe looking at something where we can have an official, you can concede the match, kind of like in TCG. But how do you feel about this? Because this is a huge difference, and this is doesn't necessarily affect the mechanics of the game, but the mental and emotional connection of a player to their match could really change here. If you're feeling really hot or you're feeling really down, having to go 6-0 in a tournament, or 0-6 in a tournament is going to make someone feel really demoralized. Like, how do you feel about this whole, best of 3, but must play 3?
Yeah. So my first reaction was, this is going to put off new players and players who are still developing in their skills, because of the fact that, maybe you just fought your local person, or someone came in, they're really high ranked, and they just stomped you 2-0, and now you have to play a third. And it's very, it's very demoralizing. And you say, well, you just went 2-0. What's the difference between 3-0? Well, it's a best of 3. So, once you get that 2 wins, it should be over. So my initial thoughts is that shouldn't be the case. Now, when it comes to regionals, continentals, and worlds, I 100% would go on board with the must play 3, because that's going to make or break the biggest tournaments. But when it comes to your local tournament, when you're playing in an 11-person tournament and you're the new player, imagine you're new, you join in and you're like, okay, we're going to do a best of 3. You do it. And then you're like, no, we have to play 3 games, and you just get kicked. You lose 9 games in a row.
It's gonna be so bad.
I totally agree with you there.
Well, I've seen it. I've seen it happen at my tournaments, where it's just like someone will have an off day, or they're just not prepared and they lose every match. But at least they can be done with 2. Like, I can't imagine, like, if there's a 3-round tournament and they have to put in that extra match just to lose. Like, that's gotta hurt.
Yeah, what that will do is, it'll stop people who are new from continuing, and then it'll also they'll spread the word to other new players. Like, don't even try. Our local group is too good. You're just gonna lose every time. There's no point in trying. So it'll get new players to stop playing, and players that could be potential to not even join. So that's why I kind of stood that stance on, we need to look at this in a different way. Because I understand where they're coming from with the point system, but
well, they're getting rid of the Buchholz tiebreaker thing, so this was going to be a way to kind of give a little bit more of a clear picture of who's the winner overall. But because it's just a weird one. We're gonna have to definitely follow
like
this.
The card game, you best of 3, like you only play 2. Like whoever, if you win 2 in a row, you win. Like
I think the recording each individual match, who won, who lost. So in a, not just the, I just won, I beat this player, but I went 2-0 or I went 2-1. I think that's a great step forward to figure out who's actually the best. But forcing 3 games, I don't think is the best call this early in the development of the Silph Arena.
Cool. We'll have to keep up on that. We'll keep everybody updated as this develops over time. All right. They cleaned up how selecting weighting of cups will work, like the weight. I think it'll kind of, during the registration process now, you can clearly select which cup to be weighted. That way, if you're in multiple cups that are running at the same time and they have that first one conclude would always count, now you're going to be able to isolate the exact one that you want to right away during the registration process. Tournaments will now count after just 2 rounds, meaning if there's 8 people in a tournament and 2 rounds get fully completed and then someone walks out of the tournament in round 3, you can issue them a loss and the tournament will still count. It wouldn't be a like a no contest. They'll actually still be able to go through as long as 2 rounds have been completed. There's 10 new clarifications to the arena rules. I'm not going to get into these in detail now, but I'll put a link in the description over at Silph GG so you can take a look at that. The season roadmap. This is a really cool one. A nice snapshot of what we have to expect over the next 11 months. October through July, we have our 10 monthly cups, with April being a regional cup by invite only. June through August, we're going to see our championship season, which is when things are going to start, really heating up and culminating in the World Championships come August, I believe, right? Or, late after August. So this is a long season, and it's going to be interesting to follow how they do this. There's just going to be so many tournaments going on. It's going to be awesome. And we do have our first cup, the Sinister Cup. And people are pretty excited about this. It's Ghost, Psychic, Steel fighting. There are some bans, no Mythicals, no Skarmory, Hypno, or any Pokemon with a dark typing, including dual types. What are your thoughts on the Sinister Cup, and any standouts to you right away besides Bastiodon and who do you think is going to be shining here in this meta?
Yeah, so I think the Sinister Cup is a great tournament. I'm liking the fact that they did do the Dark type ban, because otherwise Pokemon like Sableye would be really standing out, and we wouldn't see maybe Haunter or Banette or Drifblim be the best. So I really like that they banned the Dark. I'm glad they banned Skarmory, because we've seen it. It's a fantastic Pokemon. If you're new to PvP and you're looking to something to invest in, Skarmory is amazing, but in this month's cup, it's just not needed. And then I think the best one right now is Poliwrath.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, Poliwrath with, you could run it a couple different ways. You got Legacy Poliwrath with Mud Shot, that you could go with Power Up Punch and either Hydro Pump or Ice Punch. And then you can also use a non-legacy, which is what I have, with Bubble, Power Up Punch, and Ice Punch. And this thing is a monster. If you cannot stop it in a battle, it'll 3-0 a team. And that's real. I've tested it with people. I'm like, all right, don't bring a hard counter. I'm leading with Poliwrath, and with 2 shields, I swept the whole team, killed all 3 Pokemon and their shields with just a Bubble Poliwrath.
Wow.
So he's going to be the thing to beat.
Nice. You heard it here first, folks. Look out for that. So what are your big takeaways on the Sinister Cup, and actually all these Season 2 updates at large? You excited for Season 2? Like, you think that things are moving in the right direction?
Oh, absolutely. Season 2, I've been hyped for it for so long. We haven't had a new cup in a while, I think since June, when the Jungle Cup was announced.
Right, before Mirror.
Yeah, so I'm really excited that Season 2 is here. The new cup is amazing. It's got a great balance. You have a lot of different selections. You don't have to, it's not like Kingdom where you have to have these 4. You can really go a lot of different ways with the rankings. As for future cups, I'm hoping I have enough Stardust to survive Season 2. That's going to be the big takeaway is, do I have the dust? Do I have the TMs? So...
Yeah, well, that's where people were saying, like, imagine if the Versus Seeker requires dust. It's like another thing to spend dust on.
That would be bad.
All right, well, in closing, man, what's in the future for ZyoniK? What are your plans with the channel? Are you still going to be pumping out some solid PvP content? Because you're pretty consistent, man. You're covering the stuff as it comes out, which I definitely appreciate.
Thank you for that. I'm definitely going to continue. There may be a blip of no coverage in the next month or so. More news to come on that. Maybe we can talk after this. It's not public knowledge, but yeah, I'm just going to continue making informative videos on, what the meta looks like, what are the best Pokemon, your good choices, get some really good battles to showcase how Pokemon do, or how, maybe you should steer away from some of these other ones. Get my tournaments in early so you guys can check out how I did so great, or how maybe I didn't do so good because I didn't bring the right Pokemon or something like that. So
awesome. Well, we'll definitely follow your adventures and your content. I'll put links in the description. Make sure you check out ZyoniK, everyone. Thanks again for coming on, man. Thank you so much.
No, it's been a blast.
We really do appreciate it, and I'm sure we'll definitely see more of you and PvP in the future. We're super excited. So we really do appreciate you coming on. Everyone else, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about some miscellaneous news. We have a couple of listener emails, and we're going to talk about Melissa's experience with the Safari Zone. She's here. She's home. She just got in. So maybe she'll jump on for the back half, even though she's been in the car for 8 hours. We'll see. We'll see if she's willing. But ZyoniK, thanks again, man. We hope to hear from you soon. And everyone else will be back right after these words.
Hold up, everyone. Are you ready for a sing-along? Slowpoke in a reggae style. Pokemon. Come in. Slow.
And we're back from our break. ZyoniK, thank you so very much for coming on the show. We really appreciate it. Nice guy. He's got a solid foothold in understanding the community and what the community wants out of PvP content, and it's awesome. He does a really good job. If you guys want some awesome PvP content, make sure you check out ZyoniK, link in the description. All right, now that we're back, a little more housekeeping I want to cover really quick. Our list of patrons. I moved it from the top of the show. It's going to be here in the middle of the show from now on. But I want to give a huge shout out to our show supporter tier patrons: Brittany J, Matt M Pitts, Terry David, Chris Sydney, Bacon L, The Noise, Harry, Pokenab, Bob, Purple Pancakes, Dem Gears Be Bangin', Lady Goobly Meat, Super Nerd, Fox, Go Ranger Matt, The Phoenix, Baker Boy, Jolt Switch, Alex, The Illustrious Overseer, Jason, Go Live Andrew, Paul, and Matt from Kentucky, and Justin. Thank you guys so very much for your patronage, and a huge shout out to our executive producer, Paul Bhatt.
Thank you guys.
Yes, thank you guys so incredibly much. We really do appreciate it. All right, a couple bits of news to cover here. Not too much. We've got Gen 5 that's been out. Adam, how you been doing with Gen 5? Do you want to do a medal check-in, a Pokedex check-in?
Oh man, a medal check-in. See,
I cheated though. I used some rare candy. I was sitting on like 450 rare candy, so I used some of it to get up there. Oh, I just got killed. Someone just best friended me without letting me know. I hate that. I hate that. Oh,
well,
Arrowcat.
Long story short, I did not do any evolutions or anything like that. Everything has been caught in the wild.
Okay. What do you got?
And I am at 15.
See, that's awesome. I'm at 24, and I evolved almost everything that I have.
I mean, I saw Liepard in the wild. I didn't go after it, though, because I was going to work. And I have yet to see Oshawott.
I have one Oshawott. So one of those I've seen one Tepig. But,
And the one Clink that I did, it got a shiny.
Oh, you see, I did one Clink raid and then used rare candy to bring it all the way up. But, I still haven't evolved Ferroseed. I still haven't evolved Drillbur. So there's still some stuff I have. Yeah, I got the Panpour, which seems to be really rare in this area, and haven't seen any Heatmore. Have you seen Heatmore?
I've seen Heatmore in a gym, but that's it.
That doesn't count.
Well, I mean, I saw the shadow.
Couple updates came from PokemonGoLive.com this week. We have Altered Form Giratina returning to Tier 5 raids starting Monday the 23rd. So by the time you hear this, it'll already be live through Thursday, October 17th at 1 p.m. You're also going to get a raid hour for Giratina Wednesday the 25th from 6 to 7 local time. But Adam, you could get the shiny. How do you feel about Altered Form Giratina coming back?
It looks ghastly.
It does.
Looks so
it's like a ghost.
Ghouly, and it's definitely October themed. This is the perfect shiny legendary.
When I saw this, I was like, I forgot they have all these forms that they could recycle. So that just means that we're gonna see so much Giratina again as they cycle through all the forms with their shinies. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So we'll get this one, and then probably after this one, we'll probably see the origin form.
Right, but I mean, we're looking at a little less than a month time with Altered. But the other big news here is Shadow Ball Mewtwo is making a return to EX raids starting. Actually, any passes that are received after Wednesday 9/25. So after the 25th of September, if you receive an EX raid pass, it will be for Shadow Ball Mewtwo. No end date on this yet. But a shiny Shadow Ball Mewtwo sounds really, really freaking nice right about now. But hey, a lot of people are digging on Psystrike, and rightfully so. But they did come out with a make update for our Psystrike Mewtwo raid hour. Remember, this was kind of canceled last week because of some technical issues, part of the Ultra Bonus unlock for week 3. So they've moved that from a Wednesday. They moved it to Tuesday, October 8th from 6 to 7 local time, which is interesting. So no longer on a Wednesday. They moved it over to a Tuesday. Interesting. But what do you think of this? How have you been doing with Psystrike Mewtwo? Any luck with the shiny?
I have yet to find a shiny one.
Okay, so you've done some though.
Yeah, I've done probably 10 or 11.
Okay, I'm with you right there too. I did about the same. No shinies, and I had a massive raid train the other day. We did like 4 or 5, and we had like 40 people, and out of all those raids, only one person got one shiny. So it was, it's
I feel that.
But the rates are normal. It's just RNG has not been in our favor lately at all. So
yeah,
but this is a cool little raid lineup in Tier 5 and in EX. I'm glad Deoxys has finally moved on. That was a long, slow burn with Deoxys. So
he had so many forms.
Yeah, but the fact that Mewtwo is back and it can be shiny, it's awesome. It's going to make people go hunting after EX raids again. It's like people would be very passive. Okay, I got my one speed form Deoxys. I don't need to worry about doing another one. So even if they got another raid pass for a speed form, they wouldn't go. But you better believe if someone gets multiple passes for a Mewtwo because of the shiny form, they're going to be all over that. You know what I mean? They're not going to miss it. So I like this. Definitely. I like this lineup. Pretty cool. All right, a couple bits of miscellaneous news here. Montreal Safari Zone just wrapped up today. Let me talk about Melissa's experience. So I just went and talked to her on the break. She's like, I'm going to bed. So she literally just got in. She's fallen asleep already. But we're customers of Sprint. We have Sprint. And before she went on her trip, we figured out what we needed to do. So when she got into Canada, she would have service and be able to play. And they said, no problem. It's super easy. As soon as you cross the border, you're going to get a text message from Sprint that says, hey, would you like to opt in for $10 for a week's worth of 4G data, through our international carrier plan? And all you got to do is reply yes, and you're good to go. You got 4G. So she gets the text message. She opts in. We get the confirmation that everything is good to go, that, you've purchased the 7-day 4G pass. She gets to the event, right? Saturday morning. She has the hardest time even loading into the game, right? Once she finally gets loaded, she can't catch a single Pokemon. She would touch on a Pokemon and it would just spin and it wouldn't do anything, to the point where she struggled with it for hours and hours at the event. Couldn't catch a single Pokemon. The international data plan did not apply onto her device. So she had to take a break. I don't know if she went back to the hotel. She calls up Sprint and they say, oh, we didn't add a line of code to your phone plan to allow it to be accessible with compatible with the international data plan. So Sprint totally shit the bed. And I'm at work, right? So now I'm on the phone with Sprint. I'm raising hell. And they're like, okay, we got it. It's all good. As of now, she should have service, blah, blah, blah. And she still didn't have service. So she was pretty sour on the whole deal because she totally got fucked by Sprint. Wasn't able to play. No Tropius, no Unknown, no Shinies. Nada. Nothing. So she used most of her day today to kind of sightsee and, explore Montreal. And honestly, I don't even know what she's caught. I haven't even brought it up. I haven't even talked to her. She literally just got home. So yeah, so she had a fucking bum trip, which totally sucks. And I feel,
that's such a
I
waste.
feel really bad. She's really pissed. She's like, I fucking finally make the effort to go and do something and do this for the brand, and this shit happens. So it's like, yeah, total Sprint fail, which is a total pain in the ass. But anyway, shiny Yanma are spawning around the world. Any luck with that yet?
Nope.
Now, I think this weekend during the Safari Zone window, they're spawning at a 1 in 150 rate. This was per Silph Arena, the Silph scientists at Silph Road. 1 in 150. So I'm sure starting now probably, or even tomorrow, they'll bump back up to 1 in 450 or normal, full odds rate. Adam, I know you're excited about this. Actually, I don't know anyone that's excited about this. Trapinch is our October Community Day Pokemon, Saturday, October 12th. I'm excited because you get triple catch XP, but do you care about Trapinch?
Yeah, I like it that it's blue.
So just for the fact that it's a cool shiny.
Just the fact that it's blue.
Hey, that works. But that's coming. There was an APK mine of 0.153.2. Not too much in here, but there is one thing that's a little exciting here. The Safari Zone badges were added. That was fine. 2 new moves, Thunder Fang and Ice Fang. You can check out Pokemon Go Hub. I'll put the link in the description if you want to see which Pokemon can learn those moves. But this is the exciting part. There's a line of code that's called Pikachu _versus _2019. This kind of makes me think that there's, like we would see a new hat, right? But it says versus. So could this be a PvP based Pikachu form? Could this fucking be Pikachu Libre in Pokemon Go? Because it's a PvP thing. Dude, could you imagine? Holy shit. If this form, this versus applies to PvP and they release a special edition Pikachu Libre, I am so in, dude. I am so freaking in. I'd pay money for that outfit. I take that back. Don't ever do that.
Put that behind,
please don't make accessories purchasable for Pokemon. That'll be bad for my wallet.
No, I see that being a thing.
Right?
Like how else would you get that? Because it's not necessarily a hat. It's a completely different. It's like an outfit.
Yeah, so. But they could still spawn in the wild just like the hat ones would. That would be so cool. That'd be awesome. As we're wrapping up week 5 of the Ultra Bonus Unlock, with Shiny Regionals and all that, people were massively butthurt about the Shiny Regional hatch rate to the point where they were creating, these very, very highly upvoted threads on Reddit about thinking that Niantic was fucking people over by changing the Shiny rate mid-event. So if, the odds were, 1 in 450 at the start of the event, then they worsened mid-event, making it harder for you to hatch eggs, and ultimately you're stuck buying more and more incubators. So they, Silph scientists went hard at work on this. So independent people were putting hard work at this. Niantic actually got out ahead of this on Reddit, and Niantic Indigo, who is one of their Redditors, put that shit to bed, like pretty much saying, no, nothing. We've tested this extensively, and all the rates that we've seen are absolutely in line with how they're designed to be. So quit your whining. But yeah, I haven't seen shit. I did 140 eggs this past week, and no shinies. So
I've done 55 eggs and no shinies.
Yeah, it's RNG is no joke. I put in the Discord, someone had posted something about being pissed about RNG. They hatched like a stupid amount of eggs, and I was like, yep, RNG is a fickle bitch, fickle biatch. It's like you can't put your finger on it. It's just the luck of the draw.
Maybe we needed to buy outfits.
Dude, don't reinforce this. Nick from Trainer Tips is like, his buddy Ken had this idea that when you buy something from the store, that would ultimately translate into finding a shiny in the wild. And then it kept coming true for Nick. It was like, no, dude, stop supporting this. It's like, before I know it, I'm going to have every stupid fucking shoe in the game because I'm trying to get shinies. No, thank you.
That's a shiny shoe. Couple
listener emails here before we wrap up. First one from Alan, and you guys wrote some great fucking emails. They're long, so I will cut them down here a little bit, but I did highlight the important stuff. So this one's from Alan. It said, I love this week's episode with Liz. It was a hell of a lot of fun to listen to. Anyway, I wanted to bring up the troublesome subject of spoofing. During the interview, Liz talked about how getting out and exploring and building a social community were part of the core principles of Niantic. He then goes on to say how there was ban waves, and in his specific community, there's definitely a spoofing problem. and people are in his community that he would normally raid physically with are now just staying home and doing the raids remotely. So he sums it up by saying, sorry this turned into a longer message than expected, but I wondered your thoughts on this. Do you feel Niantic has relaxed their stance on spoofing, and how do you think this will affect the community in the long run? So now this is an interesting one, and I know the spoofing topic, it could get played out because people cover it at fucking nauseum, and it's like, look, we haven't talked about spoofing in a while. I think what we were used to seeing were these isolated bans from Niantic. John Doe spoofer over here would get banned. This fucking spoofer over here would get banned. This guy over there got banned. It doesn't seem like their focus is on the end user anymore. They've kind of moved up the food chain. And again, this is me talking out of my asshole, just seeing what I've seen on Reddit, people talking about it. There's a heavy map, not spoof, but map community in my area. And they communicate in my circles. And it's like, so I hear all this shit. And it's definitely, I don't think that they've relaxed their stance on spoofing. I just think now, rather than going after the individuals that are doing the spoofing, they're going after the companies that are building the tools to allow people to do it and making moves on those levels. So a lot of the things are happening behind the scenes at a much, much greater and larger scale than just going after, John Doe freaking, spoofer. But Adam,
because I could create.
Do you see this?
This is hypothetical, but I could create an account right now,
right,
and just be like, I'm going to go to France. You know what I mean? And people can consistently pump out new accounts, versus going after the companies that will allow them to do that, or will allow them to get to France. That's what you think is going on, right?
Well, yeah, I know for sure that they're going after these bigger companies because I've seen people in the map community shaking their boots a bit and also then be concerned because they're partners with some of these people. And it's like, so I'm seeing this on a grand scale where, hey, they're shutting down this service, or, we talked about, the global plus scene and all that kind of stuff. I mean, there's fucking tens of thousands of users, it's a significant amount of people that are doing it. But do you see spoofing as a problem in your area? Have you ever felt it?
Personally, no. I think there are people in our raid groups that, they have somebody that is friends with somebody in the group. So they're like,
friend of a friend of a friend
here. Yeah. So there's only 3 people here. And then all of a sudden there's 3 people in the raid and you're like, there's no cars. There's nobody around me.
See, but in that case, do you even think of it as a problem, or is that you know what I mean?
No, and then that's the only way you can get the raid done is if you have more people. Yeah. So it's that's why people have shifted in a smaller community to 2 phones, 2 accounts,
yep.
And it's such a tough call.
So, Alan, that's a great email.
I want to get the raid done. So
yeah, it's. I don't think Niantic has relaxed their stance. I just think that their focus has shifted onto the higher on the food chain, and the results I'm sure are much greater than going after the individual. But great email, thanks for writing in, appreciate it. Next email from, I swear this is what it says, a certain meaty lady. That's who it's from.
This lady googly me.
It says, hey guys and shady lady, I want to share a story from our community, a sad one. One about how 2 people can ruin the fun for so many, especially kids, by being egotistic, and it exposes a flaw in the game. It says a couple on the edge of the community has it in for gyms. They have 2 red accounts, 2 yellow, and they have it in for getting the most accumulated time in gyms total. Whenever a new gym pops up, they're sure to see the 2 same names every time. Make no mistake, he has 2 red, she has 2 yellow. The modus operandi is the same. He puts in a Dragonite, then a Blissey, and so start the feeding frenzy. He then goes on to talk about how golden raspberries work and how when you use a normal berry remotely, you get this minuscule shit effect of replenishment of CP, but even remotely, you could still use a golden raz and you're good to go. So this is kind of makes the golden raz OP. So he kind of talks about all that and how it kind of demoralizes players in this community, especially kids that are younger, from wanting to even engage in the gym system, because when they try, these people are just feeding golden razzes and holding these things down no problem, because they have so many opportunities, because they have 4 Pokemon in the gym. So they have just a shit ton of berries that they could drop just over and over and over. And he goes on to say, they don't spoof, they don't cheat, as far as we know. Well, that's to be seen, actually, because if they're using multiple accounts, that could be considered cheating. But heck, do they ruin the fun for new players? I hope this story can garnish some attention towards the Golden Raz and how OP it actually is. My proposed change would be one of the following. Make a feeding limit be per player and not per gym. Make Golden Raz effect reduced on remote and diminish with each berry like the other berries. And remove the ability to feed if the 3rd battle has begun. This is a big one here, which makes the battle work as a full CP battle when showing the CP on screen. And this has happened to me before. So, and then he says, bummer of a story. I promise to share a happier one soon. Lady of the Goobly Meat. So thank you so much for writing in Lady of the Goobly Meat. But you bring up some good points here, because this would happen to me all the time. Let's say I had a Blissey in a gym, right? And it's the only Pokemon in there. And I do my first 2 battles, everything is normal, and I get it down to, say, 600 CP. So it looks like it has 600 CP. And I start my 3rd battle. I go into the battle, it says 600 CP. At that time, before that battle starts, while we're lobbying, you could drop a berry on that Pokemon, a Golden Raz. So now I go into the battle. It looks like you have 600 CP, but I start beating you up, and your health bar doesn't move at all. Because what happens is the Golden Raz actually took effect. It just doesn't reflect on the screen in the current CP, because I had already initiated that 3rd battle. So you have to work the person all the way down before you even see any effect on the status of, or any effect on the health bar. And then when you finally beat it up and you go back to the, you did it screen, and you go back to the showing, looking at the gym, it's only as if they were at full CP and you did 1 battle. So it just fucks things up. It's just like, this is the thing where it's like, oh, it's a victimless crime, doing this kind of shit. This is I get pissed at this kind of stuff, because it does affect people engaging with the game, because they just give up. They're like, fuck this. I'm not going to deal with this. It's bullshit.
But on the opposite end, that's kind of the reason they allow you to feed remotely, so you can hold on to gyms longer. Say you put in a Pokemon and it's only been in there for 15 minutes. You want to defend that.
Yeah, but if you have 4 accounts, then you have this overwhelming supply of berries that, you know what I mean? To just make it not possible to take down, because you could just wait for that 3rd battle and Golden Raz. I mean, that could be like a 2 hours worth of berries that you could feed this freaking thing without ever, hitting a cap. So that's a good point.
I say you yourself get an extra account, and then you do two at the same time.
That's the worst advice you could possibly.
Okay, I know, right? I'm the worst. No, I've thought about that too. I just want to record myself hiding in the bushes and watching somebody try to take down a gym and just being like, golden raspberry. Golden raspberry.
I have 2 gyms right by my house, and I covet their valor, color. I keep it red as much as I can. And there's so many times where I'll go to walk the dog, and I'll take over the gym, or I'll see a car pulled up, it's a church. So I see a car pulled up in front of a church, and they're obviously taking my gym down. I'll let them take it. And then, as they pull away, I'll take their Pokemon down real quick and throw a Magikarp, 10 CP Magikarp in there or something. It's like they're at the edge of the parking lot looking back in the game. They already got kicked out, and a Magikarp is taken. That kind of shit makes this fun. But if
you don't give people the 8-hour rule and make sure that they're in for 8 hours. Come on, you're ruining the spirit of the game, Ken.
No, Come on. I always, look, I'm a nice guy when it comes to terms of service and all that good stuff, but I've always been on the side of the fence of, when it comes to gyms, so long as you're playing legit, not spoofing or scraping or running multiple accounts. Fuck that. If it's not your color, take that shit down. It's like, yeah, if your buddy's in the gym and you want to hold out so he can get some coins, do that if you want, but. fuck that. So if I'm walking my dog at, 1 a.m. and I see the gym around the corner isn't red, it's like, where I'm going. I'm going to take that shit back. Like, I don't care what time it is. People are like, wait till after midnight. It's like, fuck that. 11:59. I'm taking your shit out.
Ruthless.
I know.
You are ruthless.
Team Valor, son. But Adam,
Ruthless.
I think that's about it. I think we can wrap up the show here. Thank you again to ZyoniK for coming on the show, man. Very exciting to hear, what his thoughts on season 2 of the Silph Arena. I'm really excited to see how this all rolls out. Make sure you check out his links in the description and connect with him. Subscribe on YouTube and connect on Twitter. Our Secret League pins are available. This link is in the description. You can check them out. I think they're on sale right now as well. You could email us just like we had today. 2 great emails, info@luredup.com. Check out luredup.com for everything that we're doing. Check out PokemonProfessor.com for everything that's going on in the channel. And you could also leave us a text or a picture or a voicemail at 732-835-8639. Adam, you got anything else?
I mentioned that I got a Clink that was shiny from my first raid.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
Oh, you just want to rub that in again? Yeah, thank you, buddy.
No, I don't want to. I don't want to flex it, but.
All right, guys. Funny. Well, that was a show. Thank you so much for checking us out, everyone. We'll talk to you guys next week. We're gonna have Heather Ward on next week. She is the creator of the Girls That PvP hashtag. We're going to talk about that movement, which has been picking up some significant steam on social media, so I'm really excited to do that. But other than that, keep training, trainers. We'll talk to you next week.